Welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us here for a corporate introduction and update, because we've had our guest already on in the past, but I can't remember when it was. It's been a while, and the company has changed dramatically since. So let's call it just an introduction again of a company. And I'll be joined here in a few short seconds by James Anderson. He's the CEO of Guanajuato Silver, G Silver for short, because not everybody, including myself, can really pronounce it. I've told him numerous times to change the name to get something a little more palpable, like something I can roll off my tongue more easily going as well. Before we get started here, just a quick introduction from our end, some news to share. We've joined forces with Brien Lundin of the Gold newsletter of Golden Opportunities. He's also the host of the fantastic New Orleans Investment Conference. So this content will be hosted on the Gold newsletter YouTube channel and also on our Twitter channel, of course, as well. So you'll see a lot more content on the mining side coming out on this channel. And so please make sure to subscribe to get more updates. We'll do a lot more company updates, promise, and a lot more mining content will be found on this channel. So make sure to subscribe to that. And now let me switch over to my guest. And James, so great to see you again, my friend.
Great to see you again, too. You know, as a lot of your guests might not know, you are a very good soccer player, and I miss you out on the soccer pitch as well.
I need to plan my trips a little better, or at least I need to get some more brownie points in with the wife and family so I can come out a day early or so to join Sunday nights again.
There you go. Well, so, we miss you out there.
Absolutely. It's great fun out there. Yeah. I love it. And you guys are playing now at a really good turf as well.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. A new location for us.
Absolutely. Yeah. Fantastic. James, we've known each other for years. Let's be frank here. I'm a shareholder of the company. I didn't sell at 60 cents. I looked at 28 cents this morning as we're recording this, of course, but I bought in, I think, at 35 cents in one of the financings. Right. So just wanted to get that out of the way. This is not a paid for interview, by the way. So this is all just, we've known each other. It's great to get an update. Might as well record it, right? As a shareholder, long overdue anyway. But James, to start us off with the introduction, why don't you give us a quick 60-second overview of the company, and then we'll dive into a lot more details. I have some questions prepared for you here as well.
Sure. Okay. Well, look, despite your proclivity not to be able to pronounce Guanajuato Silver, it is Guanajuato Silver. We named it after a very famous old silver mining district in central Mexico. It is the name of a Mexican state. It's the name of a Mexican town where people have been mining silver and gold for 450 years. People can say Guatemala and Guadalajara, so I figure they can say Guanajuato as well. Over the last 24 months, we have purchased 4 mines, 3 production facilities. And if you go to our website or our presentation, our corporate presentation, you can see that we have been ramping up production and silver equivalent production every quarter for the last 7 or 8 quarters. Our ability to continue to do that, quarter over quarter, I think, we'll obviously hit a speed bump at some point. But so far, we've been able to ramp up significantly quarter over quarter. Last announced quarter, we produced about 950,000 silver equivalent ounces. And a silver equivalent ounce for us is about 50% silver, 40% gold, and only 10% for base metals, zinc and lead. If you look at a lot of the other silver producers in central Mexico, there's a big component part that is base metals. That's the nature of the epithermal systems there. In Guanajuato, where 3 of our 4 mines are located, really it's all silver and gold. And it's a little bit different that way, so I like to point that out. We've grown very, very quickly. We intend to continue to grow the company. I don't think that we are at a position just yet to be truly sustainable in the ups and downs of the mining market. So that's our objective. Our stated objective is to continue to grow the company.
Awesome. Because my next question was business plan. Like, what is the end goal? Like, what are you trying to achieve? Because you run, as you said, or you grew quickly. You run 4 mines now. So what is the business plan? What's the overall objective there?
Yeah, our business plan is to continue to grow silver production and silver equivalent production, but to continue to grow production with a silver focus in central Mexico especially, and if we had opportunities that were a little bit further afield than that in other parts of Mexico, that would be fine. But that's what we want to do. Our one of our directors and our president, our head of Mexican operations, Ramon Davila, was the chief operating officer through the huge growth period with First Majestic. So it's a model, it's a template of growth that we would like to emulate.
Yeah, fantastic, awesome. Okay, interesting, because it's gone well. You've added four mines. What type of mines are you looking for when you're buying them? Like, because some of them, like El Cubo, is like I've been somewhat familiar with, somewhat in distress at the time, or would actually care maintenance.
Right. Well, that's exactly right. And what we have purchased so far are mines that have been underinvested in. That were marginal when they were in production, either with Endeavor Silver and El Cubo, the El Cubo operation, or with Great Panther and all of their Mexican operations, really. So what that has meant for us is, in a generally declining market for the last 2.5 years, is we've been a little bit undercapitalized in our desire to be able to take these mines, quickly put them back into production and expand production and give the mines the capital that is necessary to be able to expand them to the production that we think they can. What does that look like going forward? There are certainly many, many things in distress right now, Kai. I mean, everything's got a for sale sign on it. Well, one has to be careful, though, that you're not simply buying someone else's problems.
There's usually a reason for that.
Exactly, right? Exactly. So, we have to be careful about that, and whether our next expansion looks like the ones that we've done before, or whether it looks like something that is perhaps a new deposit, a new mine, but perhaps is bigger and a little more greenfields. Maybe that's a direction that we can go in as well. As I said, there's certainly no lack of opportunities. There's all kinds of different things that are for sale. Attracting the capital necessary right now, that also is a challenge.
I can imagine. That was one of my next questions. But I want to stay in the past just for a little bit longer. How much have you invested so far?
Well, that's a good question. Let me add it up quick. I'm going to cuff you a number. I don't have the number off the top of my head, but I'm going to say $50 million US. And I want to comment on that a little bit. One of the things that I think marks Guanajuato Silver, it marks perhaps my business style. I like getting bargains. We purchased El Cubo for $15 million. The last time it changed hands was for $200 million. We purchased 3 mines and 2 production facilities from Great Panther. It's more difficult to kind of point to what that transaction might have looked like in the past, but we paid less than $15 million for those mines, for the resources, for the plants, all of which would cost $50 million to build today, let alone the permits that are necessary to bring them in production. So we get all of that for what I think is extraordinary value. And although, as you commented on, Kai, I mean, the stock market has not been kind to anyone. I think that if you look for straight value, Guanajuato Silver continues to provide arguably very, very good value in the marketplace.
How have you financed the past so far, and how do you plan on financing potential opportunities in the future, especially given sort of the market environment we're in right now?
Right. So in the past, it's been a combination of equity and debt. With each of the transactions, we gave a block of shares to the seller as part of the purchase price. That's worked reasonably well. Endeavor Silver has been very supportive and continue to be one of our largest shareholders. Great Panther, on the other hand, they went bankrupt not long after we did this purchase. Their shares are now in the hands of Fidelity. So we found a buyer for all of their shares. So the Fidelity Gold and Silver Fund from Boston, they are currently our largest shareholder. So we get a lot of support in the marketplace in that manner. Equity financings at various times, at various levels, with various when windows of financing possibilities open up. We've done reasonably well taking advantage of that. And with a certain amount of debt, there are 2 debt components. One is a French family office called OCIM that lends some money to start up mining opportunities. So we owe them currently about $5 million. And Ocean Partners, who we sell most of our concentrate to, we've done a series of kind of rolling debt financings. None of it's really high coupon. It's all very friendly. So I like that. I don't think that the quantum of debt is too large for the company. I think that's all worked well, and it's been a balanced approach. And to dovetail into your other question, I think that something similar is how we would have to approach anything else that we might be doing in terms of expansion right now.
I have to ask, given the debt environment we're currently in, your Fed fund rate is at 5.25% right now, probably another hike coming this year based on the economic data we're seeing. But also, it's like bond yields are insanely high, 5.5%, and for a 12-month, right? So, are you competing with that at all? Do you see some pressure on the debt side for higher interest, especially when you're looking at new debt maybe to be issued? Because I remember maybe with the hindsight, or not hindsight, but with a thought in the back of my head is you might have to refinance some of that debt very soon.
Yeah, I guess going into the rate hikes, let's say 3 years ago, some time like that, I think that the coupons being offered and taken in the junior startup mining space, were always sort of low to mid-teens. I don't think that's changed all that much, and I don't think it's changed that much for a couple of different reasons. I think that anything higher than that, most mining opportunities, they can't answer that. Yeah. And I think that anything less than that right now, and with all candor, it doesn't answer the inherent risks in our business, the inherent risks of metal price fluctuations, currency price fluctuations, and the operating company's ability to execute its plan. So we haven't seen a whole bunch of pressure on it. With the modest debt financings that we've done, it's not coupon that that bugs us, that gets in the way. It's duration, and expanding the duration of that debt. That would be something that we would be desirous of in the future.
Interesting. Okay, now I find it interesting because a lot of the bigger companies are suffering margin compression, right? And debt yields or debt coupons are part of that, right? That's why I was like, I've been doing a lot of macro discussions with other guests on the show.
That's a really interesting point. I think, I'm off the top of my head, I think I saw Kinross do a large refinancing not too long ago. They are the type of company, the size of company that will have their debt priced against treasuries, right? And how many basis points one way or the other against that. So we don't have that problem.
Good point. Well, they refinanced $500 million, right? And the coupon on that was 5.95%.
Right.
So not too bad.
Right.
Not too bad, right? So I just had to look that up. Any acquisitions in the pipeline? Any acquisitions in the pipeline? Anything you're looking at right now?
Well, it's always tough for a CEO to comment on that in the public forum. If we had something breaking, I wouldn't really be able to comment on it. But I mean, the short answer is no. We've got lots of ideas, lots of possibilities. Nothing that we want to be able to pull the trigger on right away.
Okay. Let's look at the past quarter and how the company's grown.
Kai, just before we go on, I'm sorry, if I can just expand on that for a second. Yeah. I mean, back to Guanajuato and the Guanajuato region. I mean, that was the whole premise of building the company the way that we have. We've got two processing plants within, as the road goes, about 10 or 12 kilometers from one another. So that region is one of the great silver mining regions in human history, certainly in the Americas. There are expansion opportunities there within that camp, within that district. And I think that anything that we do further afield from that would have to be weighed against some of the possibilities, some of the opportunities that we've got there.
That's a very good point, because a lot of companies do brownfields and not a lot of greenfields anyway, because you don't get rewarded for it unless it's a major discovery, right? So brownfields makes a lot of sense. Absolutely, I get that. Okay, perfect. Okay, run us through the past quarter. You said close to 1 million ounces produced, silver equivalent. Right. Run us a bit through the cost structure. What some of the challenges and opportunities in recent times.
Yeah, so all in sustaining cost was a little over $22 per silver equivalent ounce. We want it lower, obviously. What are our challenges to get there? Well, we have bought fixer-uppers, right? And we've bought fixer-uppers, not very long ago. Valenciana, which is the main mine on the Veta Madre, the mother vein in Guanajuato, well, we've only had that back in production since December. So what have we done in the last quarter or so? We've reactivated the main production shaft called Kata, which brings mineralized material from the mine right up to our production facility. That's helped a lot in terms of costs. We have also reestablished a locomotive system. We want a few more cars in place, but we need a few more stopes in place to be able to make that make sense. But nonetheless, that is operational as well. So it's a good couple of examples of where we've spent some money. We continue to spend a lot of capital bringing these mines back to life so that we can continue to have that growing cost structure. Challenges that we've had, well, the ups and downs of the precious metals prices themselves, that's a challenge. But when I look at the price of the metals in US dollars, they're fine, all right? I think those are good prices. One thing that a lot of people perhaps is not on their radar is the strength of the Mexican peso, which over the last 12 months has appreciated by about 20%. Now, the last few days, it's reversed, and that's great. I got my fingers crossed that the Mexican peso cannot be the super peso anymore. But, we get our revenue generally in silver and gold sales. We get that in US dollars. We pay our 75% of our expenditures in Mexican pesos. So that contango has not worked really well for us. It's been a major challenge for us.
Is there a way to hedge at all?
There is, and hedging always looks really smart in the rearview mirror. We decided not to do that, and I asked a lot of people about that a year ago, 2 years ago. The consensus, and I mean the overwhelming consensus, was, well, the peso has been going down for the last 20 years. Why on earth would it change? That seemed like well thought out wisdom. Would we do something different in the future? Yes, I think so. And given the opportunity, I think we would do that.
I had a good discussion with Joe Mazumdar here yesterday he was sitting in your chair.
Right.
And he talked about, Mexico's bringing a lot of production back or into Mexico, especially or US production because it's cheaper. So their economy is doing better. Hence, probably the stronger Mexican peso because I'm looking at it, it's up 20% in a year.
Right.
Which is quite a bit for a currency.
Absolutely. The peso trades like a penny stock. So yeah, the 20%, it's a big move. I'm not sure what Joe's point was exactly, but certainly the Mexican economy generally, let's keep mining out of it for a second. The Mexican economy generally has benefited from a lot of different structural changes over the last few years, including a desire and a propensity for American manufacturers not to build factories in the Far East, but to build them closer to home. All this nearshoring activity idea. So a lot of that money has been going into border cities or cities that are further afield. Near Guanajuato, there is a very, very large automotive manufacturing industry. When you drive from the airport into the city of Guanajuato, you've been there, you will go past the largest General Motors plant that you'll ever see, right? So there's all kinds of other business activities. And then there's mining, right? The Mexican government, the AMLO government, is not particularly mining friendly. They haven't been since inception. They're not currently mining friendly now. So, all of the mining industry people in Mexico are crossing their fingers, hoping for a change of government at the elections next year.
Again next year? Feels like they're voting every 2 years.
Yeah, well,
I don't know. Just a side note.
Feels that way everywhere in every country.
I appreciate you including that because that was my next question. What the current environment is right now? Because you mentioned it. There's more competition for mining from other industries, so they're less reliant on mining revenue. So they can be a little against it. That's for lack of a better term.
Yeah, that's right. I think if they
downgraded, maybe.
I mean, why anyone would want to be? Why the Mexican government would want to be? Particularly anti-mining is beyond me, but I guess that comes from a mining perspective, a mining background. To your point, well, they can pick and choose a little bit more with revenues coming in from other places.
No, absolutely. We got sidetracked with the Mexican situation for a second, which was good because I wanted to touch on that as well. But let's jump back to the current quarter, more or less. Like, I'm not sure if you can give a guidance because you're in the middle of a ramp up phase right now. How is everything going? Like, what's the biggest challenge for you right now?
Well, I guess, continued challenges about bringing mines that had been closed for some time back into production. So that was true at Cubo. I'm trying to pick a few different examples, Kai. Ones that I haven't given already. We are currently dewatering an area in the southern part of Cubo. It's been underwater since we bought the mine from Endeavour. That will take another 60 days or so to do, and that will open up an area of considerably higher grade. So, that's something that we're driving towards. As I mentioned at the top of the show, continually expanding production from a static number of assets, that will be a challenge. And I think, the speed bumps of those challenges are just about here, just about in front of us. And we're trying to answer all of those questions. I mentioned Ramon Davila. He leads a team of 100% Mexican mining talent in Mexico, and I think that we have the experience to be able to tackle these challenges as we go forward.
You look really well rested. So let me ask you still a bit of a cliche question. Anything that gives you sleepless nights?
Oh. Yeah, plenty. I think we commented on them. Okay. Continuous need for capital for expansion. I don't know about continuous, but continuing need for capital. We in a different environment, if we would have bought 4 mines and 3 production facilities in a different environment, we would have done $120 million financing at some point. Well, that was never available to us. It was never. The market never opened up for us to be able to do that sort of thing. So we've been sort of financing piecemeal all the way through. There's some good points to that, and there's some challenges to it in terms of being able to address capital requirements in a timely manner all the way through. Other things, certainly Mexican currency risk. How to deal with that, how to hedge it. Metals prices. Absolutely. And then internal, local Mexican, political and business challenges, I guess.
Okay. No, I appreciate that. That's fantastic. I appreciate the candor there. Really, really interesting insights. I didn't nail you on an ounce or so guidance. Is that something you can?
We don't do it.
Okay. Because as I said, it's difficult in a ramp up phase, right?
It's difficult in a ramp up phase. Our resources at all of the operations are modest, but we've chosen not to. I think they would be guesses, and I don't think our team knows enough about the cost structures at each of the mines to be able to do that effectively for the marketplace.
Yeah, it'll take a few more quarters to sort of figure that one
That's
out, right? Do you have a date in mind for break even? Because you're losing money right now.
Yeah, on an operational basis, we're making money, right? But we continue to spend a lot of money on ramp up. Yeah. I'll throw out a date, Kai, but take it with a grain of salt. I think by the first quarter of 2024, I think we will. A lot of the investments that we've made and continue to make, right now, will bend back into profitability in the months ahead. Yeah. I'll give you one little snippet of that. There is another mining company whose mine is shut down in a neighboring state. And we had some quick discussions with them about 4 weeks ago about some of their mining equipment. So members of our team went to have a look. A lot of it's just not appropriate for us. We've got narrow vein systems underground. We don't need one of those. We don't need one of those. We don't need one of those. But we did buy used a scoop tram and a new jumbo drill at a steeply discounted price from if we were going to buy them new. They need a little bit of TLC, which means 3 days to a week and a half in our maintenance shop.
A little duct tape WD-40, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then away you go. So applying that kind of cost discipline to our expansion needs and desires, that's the sort of thing that we continue to do on a daily basis.
Fantastic. Next news items, it's one of the cliche questions, but I know there's some debt coming up as well. At some point, do you see any issues refinancing that?
No, I don't. I'll mention the two groups again. OCIM in Paris, a family office. They've been with us like right from the beginning.
Yeah, they've been super supportive from what I've seen.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, they gave us debt money going into the El Cubo acquisition. No one else was going to do that. We have gone from owing them over $10 million last November to about $5 million today. So they're very happy, very comfortable. We have on two occasions extended the debt facility with them. If we had to do it again, I think that they would be amenable to that. So that is not an issue. And Ocean Partners, as I said, we sell 80% of our concentrate to Ocean Partners. We've got legitimately a very, very good relationship with that group. I mean, well, with all candor, they don't want to own a bunch of mines in central Mexico. So no, that part doesn't disturb me, does not make me lose sleep.
You didn't mention it in the list. So.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
No, fantastic. Any next news items? Anything we can expect from the company? Because you just put out the quarterlies like last week.
Yeah, that's right. And as you know, when you're a junior producing company, there does come a point. We've had some very, very good exploration results along the way. We don't get very much credit for that, right?
It's still material, right?
Everybody shrugs their shoulders and goes, "Well, okay, so what?" Continued expansion of our operations. I think that's what we need to do. That's what we need to show people. That's what we're going to do. Whether that is, sexy enough and newsworthy enough to be able to drive excitement in the market, I think it's going to depend largely on the metals prices. The correlation between our share price and the price of silver is, almost perfect. So we hope for and live for a slightly higher price in silver, and I do expect that. The reason why I wanted to build a silver-focused company is because of all of the use of silver in the 21st century electronics, especially solar energy, especially solar panels. That market continues to grow exponentially, and I think that it's relatively recession-proof insofar as the governments of the world are not going to pull back from all of the support that they're giving solar expansion. So whether it's tax incentives or outright grants from different governments in the world on different programs, I think that the expansion of solar production and therefore the use of silver in those solar panels will continue to grow.
Yeah, especially with higher energy prices, like in Europe, I'm paying 42 cents a kilowatt hour.
Right.
Euro cents, right? Not Canadian cents. So photovoltaics, like right now, our house is running almost 100% off grid.
Right,
which is fantastic. So the amortization rate is fairly high. I actually haven't done the math. I bought it more for ideological reasons than economical reasons. Right?
Well, it's a great point. It's a great point, though, and I know the German government is certainly super supportive with all kinds of different programs to support solar energy. So is the French government, where I know there was one scheme from last year was that they require people who own car parking lots by 2025, I think. To have solar panels on top. And, that is, I'll just call it government mandated demand that I don't think goes away.
Absolutely. No, fantastic. James, any closing words? I think we've covered quite a lot of ground here.
I don't. I think you've, as always, I think you've done a spectacular job covering all the salient points of the junior mining company that executives that sit in front of you. Thank you very much for the opportunity, Kai. I appreciate it.
No, fantastic. Yeah, no, thanks for coming in, and everybody else. Let me switch to this camera. Oh, I didn't screw it up this time. Thank you so much for tuning in. Really, really appreciate that. Make sure to follow Gold Newsletter. This is a new channel that we're going to repopulate with a lot of content in the mining space. We're going to do a lot more mining CEO interviews. We're going to have a lot more experts on in in the mining space in particular, like Joe Mazumdar or Michael Gray and others, are joining us here on the channel as well. So make sure to subscribe to it. Follow me on Twitter at JRMiningGuy. Follow Brien Lundin on Twitter. He's up there as well, at Brien_Lundin as well. Fantastic content in the mining space. So get your bases covered, get educated, because I think the market offers a great opportunity right now, and to take a closer look. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back with lots more content.